AI Stories presents The Last Starship. Chapter 1. The Omega Crew. The sun was setting on a dying world. The sky was filled with a hazy orange glow, casting long shadows over the scorched landscape below. Captain James Anderson stood on a platform overlooking the sprawling metropolis that was once New York City. He took a deep breath and turned to face Dr. Emma Lee, his partner in the Omega spaceship project. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice low and serious. Emma nodded. "We don't have a choice. We have to find a new home for humanity." James looked out at the ruins of the city, once a bustling hub of commerce and culture, now a wasteland of rusted metal and broken glass. It's hard to believe this was once a thriving city. Now it's just a reminder of how far we've fallen. Emma placed a hand on James's shoulder. "We'll find a way to make it right. We have to." They turned and made their way to the Omega spaceship, an impressive vessel built to withstand the rigors of space travel and the unknown dangers of the universe. As they approached the launch pad, the rest of the crew was already on board, going through their pre-flight checks. James took his place at the controls, his hands steady and sure. Emma manned the communications station, her eyes focused on the screens before her. "Omega spaceship, this is Mission Control. You are cleared for takeoff." James took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He pushed the thrusters forward and the spaceship slowly lifted off the launch pad, rising higher and higher into the sky. Emma watched as the ground receded beneath them, a sense of awe and wonder filling her. "We're really doing this," she said softly. James nodded, a fierce determination in his eyes. "We have to. It's our only chance." As they left Earth's atmosphere behind, the Omega crew set their sights on the vast expanse of space before them. They knew the journey ahead would be long and dangerous, but they were ready for whatever lay ahead. For the future of humanity depended on their success, and failure was not an option. Chapter 2. Hostile Encounter. The Omega spaceship shuddered as it pierced the inky blackness of space. Captain James Anderson gripped the control panel tightly as he peered out of the cockpit's window. Ahead of him loomed a massive asteroid field, debris and boulders floating lazily in space. He knew that they would have to navigate through the field if they wanted to reach the other side and continue their mission. As the Omega drew closer to the field, James noticed a blip on the ship's radar. It was faint at first, but as they got closer, it became clear that it was a ship of some kind. James signaled to his crew to be on high alert, and Dr. Emma Lee, his confidant and chief scientist, began scanning the area for any signs of life. Suddenly, the ship appeared out of nowhere, barreling straight toward the Omega. James swerved the ship to avoid a collision, and the ship streaked past them, firing a laser beam in their direction. "Krill!" Emma shouted, her voice echoing through the ship. The Krill were a hostile alien race known for their viciousness and their desire to conquer and dominate other planets. The Omega crew had believed the Krill to be a thing of the past, wiped out from the system decades ago, but this encounter proved that the rumors were false. James ordered his crew to ready the ship's weapons and prepare for battle. The Krill ship circled back around, and the Omega crew braced themselves for impact. A laser beam hit the Omega's hull, causing the ship to shake violently. James felt a surge of adrenaline as he fought to keep the ship steady. He knew that the fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and he would do whatever it took to protect his crew and complete their mission. The Krill ship closed in, firing another barrage of laser beams. James and his crew fired back, their weapons locking onto the Krill ship's shields. The ship shuddered as the two forces battled for supremacy. As the battle raged on, James couldn't help but think about the sacrifices that had led him here. He had left his family and friends behind on Earth, knowing that he might never see them again. But he had made a promise to himself, and to all of humanity, to find a new habitable planet and ensure the survival of their species. As the Omega emerged from the asteroid field, the Krill ship retreated into the darkness of space. An alarm blared through the Omega as Dr. Emma Lee rushed to Captain James Anderson's side. "Captain, the Omega has sustained severe damage from the Krill attack," she exclaimed. James cursed under his breath. "Get me a damage report." Chapter 3. An Impossible Choice. The Omega spaceship had been severely damaged in the Krill attack, leaving the crew on edge and unsure of their next move. The Krill were still out there, posing an even greater threat to future colony ships should the Omega succeed in its mission. The reality of their situation was harsh, and Captain James Anderson knew that a decision had to be made. As he sat in his command chair, James couldn't shake the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had to decide between risking the crew and their mission by stopping the Krill in a last-ditch attack, or continuing the mission and leaving the colony vessels to die against the Krill's onslaught. The fate of the entire mission was at stake, and James knew that whatever decision he made would have far-reaching consequences. He turned to Dr. Emma Lee, his trusted confidant, and let out a deep sigh. "Emma, we're in a tough spot here. We can't just leave the Krill out there to attack the colony ships. They will use the thousands of casualties to propagate and take over the system. But we can't risk the mission, or our crew either. I don't know what to do." Emma leaned in, her eyes bright with determination. "James, the Krill ship had to have taken severe damage as well, or else they wouldn't have retreated the way they did. But we need to take this to the crew. They're the ones risking their lives out there, and they deserve a say in this decision. Let's put it to a vote." James was overwhelmed by the bravery of his crew when the vote came in overwhelmingly in favor of a last-ditch attack against the Krill. They knew the risks, and they were willing to take them. As the Omega spaceship made its way towards the Krill's ship, James couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his crew. They were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect humanity from the Krill's onslaught. It was a decision that weighed heavy on his heart, but he knew it was the right one. As the Omega drew closer to the Krill's ship, the tension on board was palpable. The crew was nervous, but they were also resolved. They knew that this was their chance to put an end to the Krill's attacks once and for all, and they were willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen. Chapter 4. Final Battle. As the Omega spaceship hurtled towards the Krill ship, James and his crew were aware that this was their last stand. This was it, the culmination of their mission, the fate of humanity, and it all boiled down to this final battle. The atmosphere on the bridge was tense, and the crew's breathing grew shallow as they prepared for the impending fight. The alarms rang out as the Krill ship came into view, looming larger and larger with each passing second, easily twice the size of the Omega. Suddenly, the Krill ship opened fire, and the Omega was rocked by the force of the attack. James struggled to keep the ship steady, but the enemy's relentless barrage was taking its toll. The crew fought back with everything they had, launching counterattacks and maneuvering to avoid the Krill's deadly firepower. Amidst the chaos and destruction, Emma sprang into action, her mind racing with ideas. She quickly analyzed the Krill's attack patterns and found a weakness in their defenses. With a few deft moves on her console, Emma was able to create a gap in the Krill's shields, providing the Omega crew with an opening to launch a final, decisive attack. James seized the moment, giving the order for the crew to concentrate their fire on the Krill's weakest point. The Omega's weapons blazed forth, a flurry of lasers and plasma bolts raining down on the Krill's hull. The Krill's shields buckled under the assault, and the mothership erupted into a massive fireball. The crew cheered as the Krill's demise became apparent, their victory hard-fought and well-earned. James allowed himself a moment of relief, his body trembling with the realization that he had led his crew to safety and triumph. Emma smiled at him, her eyes sparkling with pride and admiration. As the cheers of the crew died down, the hum of the Omega spaceship's reactor faded into silence. Captain Anderson's heart sank, the victory over the Krill feeling hollow in the face of their current situation. The crew was now adrift in the vastness of space, with no way to navigate back to Earth. The reality of their situation set in, and it was bleak. With a heavy heart, Captain Anderson gave the order to turn off all non-vital functions of the ship and to ration off their supplies. They were beyond help and beyond hope. As the months dragged on, the weight of their failure only grew heavier on the crew of the Omega. Their supplies were dwindling, and their hopes of finding a new home for humanity were fading. But then, a flicker of hope appeared on their radar. A new planet, one that was not in any of their databases. Captain Anderson fought back a coughing fit as he ordered all available navigation systems back online and directed the ship towards the planet. As they approached the planet, the crew held their breath. Would this be their new home, or just another disappointment? But as the large blue planet came into view, they were overcome by emotion. Dr. Emma ran tests from her spectrometer, her eyes widening with amazement. "It's perfect! This will be humanity's new home!" Captain Anderson's heart swelled with joy and relief. As the ship descended towards the planet's surface, he gave the order. "Notify Earth. The crew of the Omega has succeeded in its mission." The end.